I had gas. Lots of gas. That's my club.
Well, that was a fun way to start the episode now, wasn't it? I love it. It's fantastic. I forgot my tagline. That's okay. Hi, all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there.
I think the new one is I have gas, lots of gas.
Yes.
My daughter's watching Cars right now, so of course I giggled at that line because I'm perpetually 12 years old.
I love it so much. I go away for almost a whole entire week on vacation, and I come back and things are already on fire. I'm just kidding. But hi, all you. I mean, that's also fair. But hi, all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of the Viconic Review of Honor, otherwise known as the Bro. And we are here to review this week's Ring of Honor episode that took place Thursday, July 18, 2024. I am one of your hosts, Mikey, also known as El Jefe, and joining me this week is our usual ragtag crew. Well, most of us anyways. First and foremost, you can catch him here as well as the TNA review. And coming up shortly, we're going to be doing GCW together. So I'm excited to enter his world. But Andrew, I am happy to have you here, sir. Thank you for bearing, Ring of Honor with me.
We suffer for our art, I guess.
Suffering is art. Anyways, and then of course our other regular host this week happens to also be part of the ROH review and pretty much whatever we try to drag him into, but we love him. But Jesse is also here. Hello.
It's been a week.
Yeah, it is. Where do we even begin? Unfortunately, JVL could not join us this evening, but kind of running the ones and twos tonight is our disembodied voice, who is, in between me and Andrew. But I appreciate their help. Maybe we'll do a mystery reveal who this disembodied voice is later in the evening, but who knows? Gentlemen, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. You can't tell me Joe Hendry because then, that's the best thing on the planet. Gentlemen, I'm not going to lie. I had fun with this ROH, but we literally have a pay-per-view next week, and we still don't even have more than the 3 matches that we've gotten so far. So I'm pretty sure we're probably going to need the Forbidden Door treatment, in which they're going to let us know which matches we're getting. Probably next week's episode of ROH, but okay. Again, there were some things I liked, but we're continuing to run into the same problems that we've been talking about this week. But before we talk about the highs and the lows and praise and rip this episode apart, gentlemen, hands in, we are going to, do the code of honor, except for Andrew, because he wants to be the consummate heel on this episode. How dare you? I'm just kidding. Alrighty, so let us begin, shall we? We kick off this week's ROH episode with a bit of a recap. They played the condensed version of the number 1 contenders match we got over on AEW Collision the previous week between Roderick Strong and Dalton Castle to determine who would face Mark Briscoe for the ROH World Championship at Death Before Dishonor. And thanks to our, luchador friend, Senor El Buntador II, who did some fact checking. Apparently, I don't know if this helps, hurts, but it does make me a little more frustrated and irritated that Roddy wasn't supposed to win that match, period. Roddy was not supposed to win. He only won because Dalton got clocked good with the knee strike and did not kick out of it. So that take that as you will.
I would say that hurts.
Yes,
it looked like it hurt at least.
Poor Dalton, man. Poor Dalton. Which, leads us to the fact that we're getting Mark versus Roderick Strong at Death Before Dishonor. And then we get this little promo from Mark Briscoe talking about that, how, him and Roddy have this history and they're going to fight each other at Death Before Dishonor. I want to like this as much as I want to like this match. I really, really do. Because on paper, this should be fun. But the build to this has been horrible. And I hate it with every fiber of my being.
I think it makes it worse that if we actually had present champions that we could build feuds with, this match could actually be really exciting to have. But it just feels so last minute, so thrown together. And I just really don't care about the outcome because the way it was built leads me to believe that when it's all said and done, we're just going to go back to business as usual. It doesn't really matter who wins and what happens.
It almost feels like none of this matters.
Which is really disappointing given the men's world championship in this promotion, and the build to this has been
non-existent, I think is the word you're searching for.
Yeah.
Yes, it is non-existent, and I'm afraid of what we're going to get for next week. But let's talk about some stuff that we actually kind of like, even if it only means to talk about some performers we really like, because after these two back-to-back stack, we get an on-ramp promo from MIT. So we have Athena and Billy Starks, our two women's champion, and literally carrying this company on their back as of right now. They come out to cut this promo. I love Athena. I love Billy. This is the same promo we've been getting for 3 weeks straight now. The only difference is that we're going to get a 5-minute interview with Red and Queen next week, I guess. I'm like, oh, ladies, we're trying really hard, and it's not your fault. I blame backstage. But again, this promo is the exact same thing we have been getting for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. They're stretching this out way too far. Like, it has been too long of them carrying Ring of Honor and this feud. I think one of the things that served Athena, especially building up to where we're at now last year, was all of the feuds she had were the exact amount of time that they needed to be. They were handled really well, and they were finished before they got stale. And now we're at a point where I just am like, can we have them wrestle so we can be done with this? Because not enough has happened, and it's been too long. It's just unfortunate because they are really the two of the most exciting. And it's funny because I actually saw Billy wrestle last night at another promotion, and it was super fun. It was a super fun match. I want to see Athena and Billy have actual matches again, because that would be awesome. And Red Velvet and Queen Aminata. But right now it's just getting drowned out in subpar storytelling.
I feel like Ring of Honor has done it to themselves insofar as that they really shot themselves in the foot. They have not done any kind of story development or building on anything, so they're forced to stretch what minimal stories they have out as long as they can. And it's really showing. It's showing that this is not being run very well. It feels like there's a lack of any kind of authority back there, any kind of creative cohesion. It's just not working. And I feel like the company has really fallen apart the past few months. And I used to absolutely love watching Ring of Honor, but now it's like every week it feels like the same thing, but not in a good way. Like, sometimes when it feels like the same thing because it's comfortable, we've got a formula, but we're pushing the right people, we've got stories developing, it works. But this feels like very much spaghetti at the wall every week of let's throw something and see what sticks.
And it's really, really tough, too, because when we got that announcement that Tony Khan was bringing ROH back from, no longer being around, because of the name and the prestige and the history that Ring of Honor has in wrestling as a whole, was super excited. And then the first year of ROH was really great. It was fantastic. Lots of storylines, lots of talent, bringing back some ROH staples, as well as putting some new folks in here. And the pay-per-views were bar none and ended up being probably some of my favorite things across any company. But it seems that since 2024 has begun with ROH, things have taken a really weird turn. It seems like we're missing a bunch of folks. ROH talent's always getting jobbed out to AEW stars, and your titles don't mean anything. And the ones that do, which are your two women's titles, they're beginning to suffer because there's a lack of creative, no storylines, no furthering plots. It's just the same thing, and everyone's getting frustrated. And it sucks because I want people to watch ROH because the in-ring is always fantastic, but I can't even defend that anymore, and that's no longer a just cause to watch mediocrity. I'm in my feelings. I'm going to be extra spicy tonight, so bear with me. But We move on from this promo to something that gave me a little sliver of hope and did bring a smile to my face, because Lexi is backstage with the one and only Dalton Castle, who, is in this position where he has to find tag team partners for this upcoming 6-man tag team match that's about to go down. And he doesn't know what to do or where to find some. And then cue from the heavens, coming off from stage right, we have the Outrunners, who are acting like shy little fangirls, which is hilarious to me. And literally Dalton Castle is giving them like a checkup to see, let me check these specimens out real quick. Are they going to be up to Dalton Castle? Because they asked to be his tag team partners. And Dalton's like, who are these folks? Sir, you met us before. Anyways, all right, so show me what you got. This was absolute stupidity at its finest, ladies and germs and non-binary folks of the internet. But it's the stupidity that I'm here for. Dalton Castle accepts, the help of the Outrunners. And Lexi's like, so it seems that Dalton Castle's going to be teaming up with the Outrunners. And she's just, Lexi and Dalton are like a friendship that I need to have. But Andrew, I'm going to come to you first. So now that Dalton Castle is without the boys as a regular staple, how do we feel about the pairing of the Outrunners and Dalton Castle? And despite everything that we have had to deal with ROH, is this something that that might offer a little bit of hope?
Yes, though our next segment may dash some of that. But I did enjoy this. I think the performance style of the Outrunners and Dalton Castle just naturally go really well together. I've seen some of the stuff that they've been doing together in the last week or so, and they do work really well together. They fit really well together. I love the interaction. I actually really like this kind of comedic face turn for the heels, because for a little while they were kind of being heel, or sorry, for the Outrunners being heels. So I like this, like them being these kind of silly, faces, and it works really well with Dalton. If we're gonna see some kind of teaming up of them, that would be fun, though, considering the fact that Dalton got a world title shot taken away from him. Dalton got a television title shot taken away from him. He lost his world when he finally got the television title shot. I feel like, well, we're going to stick him in another trios tag team, and he's going to not win that title too. So I've almost become so jaded that I don't know that this is going to do anything more for Dalton, but it is entertaining. I do like that they're using all three of these folks because I really enjoy them. They're some of the best performers, and they commit so much to those characters and their style. And it's very unique. There are people I enjoy watching across the board from AEW and Ring of Honor altogether. So I would love for them to do something with this, because I do think it is something that could be really, really done well if it's handled properly.
I hear what you're saying. Jesse, same questions to you. How did you feel about the overall segment? And then what do you think lies in store for Dalton? I mean, he's been here consistently, so why haven't we seen anything else going for him?
I love this segment. I feel like it's a natural pairing just because the amount of goofiness that all three of those performers can pull off and have it not be like it's certainly cartoony, but not like in a cliche way. It's just a lot of fun. It's the kind of fun wrestling I enjoy. I think one of the best lines was when Dalton's like, who's that? I don't trust him. I can't see his eyes, because I think it was Turbo still had his glasses on. So I definitely enjoyed that part. I know we haven't talked about the match yet. I'm getting a little frustrated with, excuse me, no, I'm not going to kneecap it. I'm getting frustrated with the booking of Dalton Castle. He is so incredibly over. Every crowd they're in is behind him, and he seems to be having the Iron Savages treatment where he goes out to lose.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jesse, since you brought it up, let's just jump straight into it, because after we had this backstage segment, we do have our first match of the evening. This is a 6-man tag team match, which has the Outrunners and Dalton Castle taking on the team of Lance Archer and the Righteous. On paper, this should have been really fun, because between collectively for all of us, minus a certain Murder Hawk, the majority of the folks in this match we all really like. We love the Outrunners. We love Dalton Castle. We love the Righteous. Lance Archer is a little bit hit or miss for some of us, but on paper, this should have been fun. And this was fun. The biggest issue, and to echo what you said, Jesse, is that while this match was fun and it was entertaining and it had some fun spots and some fun wrestling, Dalton Castle losing every single time he is on ROH television is starting to get on my nerves, especially given the fact that we took Dalton last year, who was in contention for the television championship and held the trios championship for a little bit as well, and just being consistent on ROH television, to jobbing out on both AEW and ROH as well, essentially. I just want Dalton to win one, you guys. Like, it's not that hard. I just want good things for Dalton Castle. And whatever his reasoning is, I know he loves ROH, but we got to give Dalton something, man, because it's getting really depressing every week to watch him lose every single week. Those are my thoughts on it. Andrew, I'm going to come to you for your analysis of this match, and just give me your feelings. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that I was already hesitant when I saw what the match was going to be. I was excited for it because of all the reasons that you brought up, but I feel like this was another situation where Ring of Honor painted themselves into a corner, and I don't know if this ties into the same issues I have with AEW, just going, ooh, here's a shiny new thing. Let's use this in like this exciting way that we can right now, and not think about longevity and long-term storytelling, because you put the Righteous up against Dalton Castle and the Outrunners, and it's like, no matter what happens, somebody's losing this, and you don't want to have the Righteous lose because it's going to take away from them. And even though you're not using them to the best of the ability that you could use them, they're theoretically your most dangerous tag team. They're definitely, whether it's tag teams or trios, even though I'm not a huge fan of Lance Archer, he's a big dude. So, you put the three of them together, they're up there with the Cage of Agony and that whole thing. So those are your most dangerous tag teams. So you don't want to have them lose, but you've just put together this new trios, a super entertaining trios that the fans are going to get behind because everyone in that group is over. So it's like, who do you have lose? Who do you have walk out of this with a loss? And who do you have walk out of this with a win? And it was super fun and super exciting up until I saw the ending coming. And I was like, oh, so they're going to take out Dalton Castle and the Outrunners just the same way that they've taken out random team that comes up against Lance Archer and the Righteous, except they got more time. And it was frustrating. I would have rather seen these two teams face off against other people or come up with a better way to end this, that it makes both teams look strong. I do have to say shout out to the costume design for the Outrunners, sporting flamingos on their pants. Since Dalton Castle is the peacock, you've got them as the flamingos. I thought that was pretty fun too. And shout out to Dalton Castle for catching Vincent before hitting him with that German suplex. That was amazing. And it's moments like that bum me out even more about like how this match was handled.
It was. Jesse, any additional thoughts to the match itself and any other opinions that you got?
This was going to be one of the matches of the night until we get later in the night. I didn't love the ending. I agree with all the points Andrew made. This didn't particularly make the Righteous look strong. It didn't help the new team of Dalton Castle and the Outrunners. To me, if I were booking this, I would have had this match because this is a very good match on paper. And then I don't love schmaz endings, but for the sake of preserving the image for both of those new trio, or one new trios and the other trios team, where are the premier athletes? Have them come out, attack both teams, and now you've got a set of 3 trios teams going against each other, vying for the number one contender for the titles.
Well, we'll talk about those, trios championships a little bit later in the show.
Or the Iron Savages. You have a bunch of other teams that you could have done in there to make this ending. I don't want to say better because, again, I don't love schmaz endings, but to make it make a little bit more sense and when it comes to preserving the image of all the teams we have involved.
Yeah. Again, it's unfortunate that the Outrunners and Dalton Castle lost, but that aside, I really did enjoy this match. This was a lot of fun. And you know what? At least Dalton's on my television screen. Let's just let his man win, though, now.
I'll give you that. Now, I'm also curious what they're going to do with following up with Vincent calling out for the tag titles, not the trios titles.
Right. Okay. So that's what I wanted to talk about, too. I was like, okay, so. And this is unfortunately where I think it's going, Jesse, and I hate to break your little heart. I think next week's episode, they're going to give us all the rest of the matches for Death Before Dishonor. And with no build whatsoever, we might see the Righteous versus the Undisputed Kingdom for those tag titles.
And they'll make the Righteous lose.
Yeah, which is very unfortunate.
Okay.
Now,
well,
if they prove me wrong, though,
yet, so
yeah.
I'm pre-getting a headache from this. So maybe I can fight that off until it actually does happen, then get the proper headache then.
Yeah, so the next week's gonna be interesting for sure. So we leave this match behind, and we get another vignette for the MXM collection. I don't care what nobody says. This is the camp, and I'm here for it. The best part of this is like, let XMM inside you. I'm just like,
yeah, that line I had to go back. I was like, did I hear that right?
I'm perpetually 12 all the time. Like,
let's worry about the phrasing under that one. I'm perpetually 12, and you want to let them? Yeah.
Look. This was hilarious. This was stupid. This is camp. I'm excited for whenever we get the actual in-ring debut for MXM collection. You know, I want to remain optimistic because I think them versus the Outrunners or even interactions with Dalton Castle would be the best things on the planet. But for some reason, ROH doesn't want to do anything consistent right now. So it makes me a little bit worried. And it's sad because MXN Collection in interviews and things like that want to be in Ring of Honor, which is a big bonus because they know how important it is and they want to be there. But if ROH is struggling right now, I was just like, don't do this to people who actually want to be here. Come on now. Like, that's not fair to them. But that aside, this vignette was hilarious. And I'm hoping they make their debut at Death Before Dishonor because I think that'd be hilarious. All right, so we now have reached the middle of the show, in which is I call the Wasteland, because a majority of these matches are all squash matches, with the exception of maybe one, but even that one was still a squash. So after our MXM collection vignette, we get into our next match, which sees, we see Red Velvet coming out of Yo Mama's Kitchen, taking on Maya World. For those who don't remember Maya, she has been trained and she is one of Athena's students. And I'm getting really sick and tired of using those thinly story threads to perpetuate a Red. I'm just like, was there not any other women on the ROH besides, Maya to do anything with to showcase that, Red's got this? Because again, this was a squash match. This match went no more than maybe 4 minutes and 20 seconds, if I'm being completely honest. Red Velvet picks up the win. As she's exiting the ring, she looks at the she looks at the camera, calls out, Miss Billy Starks that she's coming for this title and that, cool, fine, whatever. I was depressed, you guys. This, again, it was another squash match. It's to get Red this win. I love Red, but again, what is ROH doing? I know you're trying to keep your champions and challengers separated, but this is kind of getting ridiculous at this point. Andrew, before I have an aneurysm, go ahead. I tag you in.
When I saw this match, it was just it was prepping me for another standard night of Ring of Honor and having at least 50% of the matches be squatches. I knew what it was going to be. I would like to hope that maybe they would actually build on the fact that it's Athena student, have some more stuff happen, have something actually develop from this. But it could have just been anybody. It didn't need to have any sort of attachment because this just was no reason other than hey, look, Red Velvet. Okay, cool. That 90 seconds we saw you, that was good enough. She's the number one contender for one of your titles. And this is the best that you can give her. And we got more of it later on in the evening. It's just such lazy booking and planning. And I just don't understand it. Like, it's not entertaining anymore. And it's a shame because Red Velvet is really good. What I've seen of Maya World, she's good too. Like, it just feels like you're doing such a disservice to the talent and the fans watching it. It's a bummer.
Honestly, justice for this women's division, because they've been carrying ROH and nobody's getting any favors done with this. Jesse, give us your thoughts.
I really don't have many. This was a blink and you'll miss it match that did nothing for anybody involved. Give me something to put my teeth into anymore. It's been the past, I'd say 7-8 weeks. We get one potentially possible adequate, I think is the best adjective we can give it, match, and the rest are squash matches which really don't do anything or help anybody. I'm so frustrated with the lack of builds, the lack of cohesion, hey, let's just see if we can put this match here and then this match here. There is clearly no direction with Ring of Honor, and it's maddeningly frustrating. And this is no knock against Maya World, no knock against Red Velvet. Great performers, great talent. They're doing what they can with what they're given, but you can only do so much when you're given a fecal matter sandwich.
It sounds like maybe you shouldn't do ROH tapings at the same time as your Collision tapings. I'm just putting it out there. Who knew? Again, stay tuned for this video essay I'm doing on ROH that we are going to be doing on ROH down the line, because I was hoping that things would get better, but with the pay-per-view next week and what I'm afraid is going to go down, just be ready because it's about to go off. So after this, Evil Uno comes out into the ring for our next match. I was like, okay, cool. Let's see who we're going to fight. But then we get a promo. I was like, okay, you have me intrigued because it's been a while since we heard an Evil Uno promo. I was like, okay, where are we going with this? The crux of this promo is that Evil Uno expresses that he's pretty much done everything. He's wrestled a lot around the world. He's had some of the toughest battles. I was like, okay, I'm following the line of logic. Some of this might be a little embellished, but okay, I'm here for it. And so he offers a challenge to anybody, whether it's from AEW. And I was like, I swear, if an AEW talent comes through that tunnel, I'm turning this off. And then he mentioned New Japan, CMLL. I was just like, I'm not going to lie. I kind of would be here for that if anybody from that. And even Stardom, or the independent scene, I was like, now you have me intrigued. But as Evil Uno is waiting for his challenger, look, I'm biased as hell. I wish we utilized these two a lot better. But Katsuyori Shibata, the man, the wrestler, and answers the call. And I'm just like, see, I want to be excited for this, but I know where this is going to go. And that's the disappointing part. And also, again, as somebody who watches all the things here for BC WrestlePod, I was like, Shibata, aren't you supposed to be out of commission because the learning tree attacked your arm not that long? Continuity and storytelling doesn't exist anymore in wrestling, I guess. But the match begins, and within 5 minutes, it was over. Shibata wins.
In the weirdest way.
Weirdest way. Okay, let's talk about this ending. Like, Jesse, I'm going to come to you first. Like, I have why? Just,
I want to ask both of you, do we think this was like a botch and Uno actually just got hurt and they just ended the match because they went, oh, it's Ring of Honor, we got nothing to lose anyway? That's what it very much felt like. Shibata was more confused than anybody.
And there was a moment I noticed when I went back, because I had to check multiple times. Like, I had to go back and rewatch the ending because I was looking for any kind of indicators whether this was like legit or not. And there was actually one point when Shibata put on the arm bar, because I was looking also to see if there was a clear sign of when he might have actually got injured. When he put on the arm bar, it actually looked like Evil Uno tapped like right away. And so that was weird to begin with, but I couldn't see any moment where so it could have been like a fluke injury or something, but,
or maybe he tapped so quickly the ref didn't see it.
Yeah, it
was definitely strange.
Yeah, and I haven't been able to find anything specifically to say if he was actually, if it was a legit injury or anything yet. But yeah, it was super weird. If it wasn't an actual injury and this is how they plan to end it, that was horrible. Because you had Evil Uno come out and call somebody out. You had somebody who, I get it that he did a lot of wrestling in Ring of Honor, but basically has been an AEW person for the last at least story arc that he's been in. It was your time to call out somebody interesting and do something interesting and actually potentially do something with Evil Uno, because he and the Dark Order have been there almost every week, at least trying to do something entertaining. And to have it go end like this was just lackluster for everybody involved. If it's a legit injury, it sucks for both people involved too, because it took away any forward momentum that Shibata might have had from this. And it also sucks because Evil Uno got injured. So if he did really get injured, I hope it's nothing too serious. I hope it's something he can come back from soon. But the way I was left feeling from this match was, I feel like you put more energy in trying to get us to watch his new podcast or listen to his new podcast about gaming than
That's fair.
this match.
Yeah. So checking the private chat, according to our disembodied voice, according to Fightful, it seems that Evil Uno has sustained an apparent injury, though no further detail as to what that pertains to, which makes me bummed because I like Evil Uno and I want good things for him in the Dark Order. Okay, so with Shibata returning to Ring of Honor for one night only, I guess, because something tells me that this is probably going to be one of the last times we see Shibata in ROH for a little bit anyways. And the fact that Caprice and Ian mentioned the last time that Shibata was in ROH was over Thanksgiving weekend, I was like, it's been that long? Well, damn. All right. Well, here we go. Now, I want to word this question very carefully because one of the biggest issues that we've been talking about with ROH the last couple of months is the fact that it seems that we don't know where half the roster went for ROH.
I think we know.
Well, I mean, that's a rhetorical question. Thank you, Andrew. I'm just kidding. Okay. We are seeing that, especially within the last 2 months across ROH, and by all intents and purposes, its parent company, AEW, wants to do this working relationship with a bunch of these international promotions like New Japan, CMLL, Stardom, all these kinds of stuff. I am hesitant to ask this question because I feel bad for our international talent if they have to suffer through what all our regular ROH folks have to. Do you think that we will see, because of the fact that it's happened before, do you think that ROH should have all the international stars come down here? And do you think we're going to see any ROH talent start competing in these other promotions? Spoiler alert, the answer to that question is yes, especially what Twitter dropped today with certain ROH talent competing in CMLL's global tournament in August. But do we even want the international talent to be here, given the fact that our ROH talent doesn't even get treated correctly?
I feel like there needs to be some serious self-editing done with AEW and the creative that's involved, in making all of these choices, because I feel like we have too many ingredients and not enough directions. It's cool to see New Japan talent, CMLL talent, AEW and Ring of Honor and all that stuff. I think New Japan, CMLL, they will suffer less from it because they're coming from places where things are established. They have things to go off of. But Ring of Honor is always going to suffer because they're essentially the junk drawer of AEW. They're the thing that they're just like, oh, cool, we need something for this. Let's just pull this out because who cares about that? And we need someone to get beat up by this person that we now want to push for this week or this thing or whatever in AEW. Let's put them in there. I feel like no matter where they go, they're going to be the people that are going to lose to the people that they're facing. I I don't know if the same thing will happen if those people come to Ring of Honor, though what I've seen recently has led me to believe that would be the case. I think the only way that this stays productive, especially for Ring of Honor, is I think Ring of Honor really needs to start being treated like its own promotion, because right now it's not being treated like a New Japan or CMLL by AEW. It's being treated as the bulk, the leftovers of AEW. And if it was treated like it was something separate like these other promotions, then it would have the strength to stand on its own and thereby being better established when it goes in to these other homes. But I don't know that that's ever going to happen with Ring of Honor the way it's being run right now.
Well, we'll talk about this a little bit at the end of the show because I have a question to pose and we can discuss this at length. But Jesse, I mean, this is really the only promotion that you watch. And like I mentioned before, ROH, when it first rebranded itself, was kind of kick ass. Like we ended up enjoying a lot of these things, but where did we go wrong with all of this? And just in general, how are your thoughts and feelings of the prospect of, especially what Andrew said, I like what you said, is the fact that right now ROH is kind of being treated as the junk drawer of the whole parent company and this working relationship.
Honest feelings, the most succinct way I can put it is I'm mad. I am very angry about this. Ring of Honor, the bringing in the other promotions talent, I'm out of like CMML or New Japan, etc. That's fine as a nice to do. And if it's going to be used in a conscientious manner to elevate the talent that's currently on the roster, I'm here for it. I'm okay with that because there's a way to book matches where both people wind up looking strong at the end. So if it's going to be something like that, okay. But what Ring of Honor needs to do, mind you, needs to do, not nice to do, but what it needs to do is focus on its core. There is no core of Ring of Honor. It's just AEW scraps. And that's how it's been treated for months now, for all of 2024, the tail end of 2023. And I'm mad. I am so beyond frustrated with it. If it continues like this, I'd give it a few more months, and then we might not even have ROH anymore.
Yeah, and that's the thing that scares me the most when it comes to this is the fact that the legacy that ROH has with the professional world and, you know, its first iteration of all the superstars that have came out of ROH across all the promotions and even the international promotions too. It's just really sad and it hurts a lot. But what even hurt more for me was watching Brian Cage's face as he made his entrance for our next match, the Cage of Agony versus the talents of Cappuccino Jones, Harlan Hutchinson, and Austin Valtino. Brian Cage's face said it all. He was so not interested, and it like even the Gates of Agony, Toa and Bishop didn't even want to be here either.
They didn't want to be there.
I was like, I just watched three grown men and their desire and their love for this business kind of slowly dissipate in the midst of this match. And that was the saddest thing I have seen all week, you guys. Like, that one hurt me to watch. Again, this is a squash match. Cage of Agony wins. If the rest of this episode prior to this made me frustrated and sad, this one just straight up made me depressed. Like, watching three grown men just like sigh and just be like Charlie Brown music playing in the background was the most depressing thing I have ever seen in my entire life. I don't have the heart to talk about this match because like it hurts me to talk about it. Just again, paint by numbers squash match. Andrew, help
There's also not much to talk about. It was another ROH squash match.
It's such a shame because we clearly have the means to have a really strong group of divisions in Ring of Honor. There's not a ton of them, but we've seen from other companies that we review here as well that you don't need a huge roster. Sometimes a huge roster can be part of the problem, but we've got enough trios, we've got enough tag teams, we've got enough women, and we've got enough singles men that we can fill out at least a top 5 to top 10 of each of the divisions, and having a team like Cage of Agony, like watching this, I was like, can you just give them back the titles, and can we actually just like develop a trios division in Ring of Honor? Because right now, I used to be excited and look forward to watching them wrestle, and watching them come out. I was like, I don't care. Like, I wrote this down as Cage of Agony versus Does It Matter, because there was literally no point in this other than going, oh, hey guys, don't forget, occasionally these three will show up here in Ring of Honor because, you know, it matters. Or at least we're going to try and convince you that it does. And there was no point in this. It's just all just filler. It's just way to kill some extra time.
I'm just sad, you guys, and I don't know. Normally, I could try to figure out a way out of it. I'm just really sad of the state of ROH right now.
Let's keep going, because there's nothing else to say about this match.
Well, there's nothing else to say also in terms of this promo too. I love Shane Taylor. I really do. But he wants to come after this title. I'm like, literally like in Pulp Fiction, John Travolta. I was like, where are we getting this storyline from? Like, what happened? Shane Taylor Promotions have been embroiled with Top Flight and Action Andretti for like the last couple of months. And now all of a sudden Shane Taylor wants to come for the singles champion. I'm like, excuse me? I was like, sir, we have not gotten a storyline for you to go for the singles championship. This makes no flipping sense. Again, Shane, I love you. I really, really do. Shane Taylor is awesome in the ring. We have definitely lost the script, lost the plot, lost the crew, because what?
Yeah, this would have made me care more if Mark Briscoe was actually around to be in feuds, to be targeted by challengers. And I would care more if Shane Taylor was actually in Ring of Honor anytime recently. And the last time we saw him, he was kind of trying to make a run in the tag division with Lee Moriarty. But apparently now that Lee Moriarty is going after the pure title, Shane Taylor needs to do something. But he's acting like, oh, hey, you guys don't care about me. Well, yeah, we don't see you on Ring of Honor. And
you don't give us a reason to care.
You're over on AEW doing stuff. Like, what are you talking about? You're getting used just like everybody else. You're literally being used by everybody, like everybody else in Ring of Honor, to just be used on AEW. Like, it came off as like, let's try to get some sympathy and try to make you care about this character, this person. But I didn't care. I don't care about what he's doing because he's given me nothing to care about recently. And the things he's going after, I don't care about because they've given me nothing to care about recently. So it was in the middle of a series of squash matches and things that just really didn't matter. So it just all meshed together into slop.
He came on, the first thing he did in his promo, he didn't even say a word. He just grunted directly into the microphone. And at that point, you have completely lost my interest.
I hate to say this, but like as soon as I saw Shane Taylor on the screen, I was just like, you are about to lie to my face. And sure enough, I'm just like, you know, I want to preface by saying this. I don't blame any of the talent. And we've been talking a lot of smack this episode, but we're also speaking facts because ROH has lost the plot, the script, the crew, and everything else in between. And it really sucks because I like this. Now, is it as bad as some people are making it out to be? I think there could obviously be worse, which frightens me. But we're slowly getting there because you continue to not care about my intelligence and my feelings for this company that I have shouted praises from the rooftops when it got rebranded a year and a half ago. And now you're making me out to look like the fool. All right. So Shane Taylor, I love you, but I do not care because they will not give you this title. And it makes me very upset. Speaking of things that made me upset, again, we continue to treat our number one contenders in these squash matches. I was like, they deserve so much more, but we get Queen Aminata taking on Mackenzie Morgan, who I'm pretty sure we've seen within the last couple of weeks too. So
yeah, she was there last week.
Yep. Shout out to Mackenzie. We love you, girl. Like, I love Mackenzie, but again, this was literally a 4.5-minute match, which ended in Queen Aminata hitting the air raid crash to pick up the victory up here. You guys, like, I think I want to like this match is happening at Death Before Dishonor. They should make me excited, but you're not doing anything for our champions, and you're not doing anything for the #1 contenders either. Like, you are literally just dragging them to the finish line, which is Death Before Dishonor, and you're not giving them a chance to prove, oh, how about let's do this?
I feel like we got a longer entrance from Queen Aminata than we got a match. It's funny because you brought up the fact that you used the air raid crash, to finish the match, which for me, that's just an example of where things have come from, because she was using the headbutt as her finisher for a good while. And it was great. She looked great delivering it. People sold it really well. It looked like a brutal finisher. And I feel like everything has just become so glossed over and who cares and whatever, that her using this move as her finish for this was just okay, hit a move. That's the finish. Yada, yada, yada. We're not even going to use an exciting finish or anything like that. Like, if you're going to have her come out and squash someone like this, not that I want to see it. I don't want to see squashes anymore in Ring of Honor. I want none. No more. But if you're going to do this, have her come out, have Mackenzie hit the ropes and her just headbutt her, finish her right there, and just have that be it. Or have her headbutt her, referees oh, nope, she's out. That's the match. Just call it. Have Aminata look absolutely dominating if you're going to have a squash like this, which could work if it's the only one that we get in the episode. But it's just everything that they do, they just do wrong. And it's frustrating. And like you said, it's not the talent, because that's what makes it extra frustrating, is because they have people who could do so well. And we know because we've seen it. And we've seen their passion, but they're just getting so little to work with.
It was another blink and you'll miss it match. At this point, I was like, there's no saving this night.
Which is unfortunate, because now we get into our main event. Our main event this week is a lights out match, Diamante versus Layla Hirsch. And it sucks in the sense that I actually really like this match. I really did. I wish you could have dragged it out and did something else, because I actually would have rather seen this at Death Before Dishonor.
Yes.
Because again, this is one of the other storylines in your women's division, even though it hasn't been built totally fine and properly, but we've at least had some semblance of things that happened. I wish they saved this for the pay-per-view, because I liked this match, but I wanted to love this match because, again, this is the only other storyline that we got going that is consistent in ROH right now. Anyways, this lights out match by default, which is really sucks to say, is my favorite match of the night, because both Layla and Diamante did the damn thing. And again, this was the longest match of the evening. It happened to be that you put the women in the main event spot, which is fantastic. It should not just be a special thing. It should be all the time, because women's wrestling is better than men's wrestling sometimes, more than 90% of the time. There was some awesome stuff. I love me a good thumbtack spot when Diamante on the outside put the chair up to Layla Hirsch and drop kicked the chair against the barricade wall. I was like, oh, Layla's going to feel that in the morning. The code red into the table for that win was vicious and brutal, and it was a beautiful shot. I also found the funny moments of this with the plunger. I was like, I don't know how that's a devastating weapon, but I kind of dig the silliness of it. And I could tell that Layla and Diamante was like, all right, girl, we got 12 minutes. Let's make these people actually like what we're doing, and let's prove that ROH can actually do really great things. I really, really enjoyed this match. My only critique is I wish that you put this on the pay-per-view, because then you would have 3 women's matches on Death Before Dishonor. And honestly, literally, the pay-per-view is called Death Before Dishonor. This could have been the one stipulation match that we had, but I don't know. Again, a super frustrating night, but I really did enjoy this match, and this was my favorite match of the whole entire episode. Andrew, lights out match. Even though some of us don't watch AEW, when I hear lights out, my mind immediately goes to Britt versus Thunder. That is the standard for me. But even though that this wasn't quite as bloody as that one, I still enjoyed it. But Andrew, how did you feel about Diamante and Layla Hirsch duking it out in our main event for this episode?
Yeah, when I saw that this match was announced and it was going to be on the weekly episodes of Ring of Honor, I was already bummed because, like you said, this was a perfect match to put on Death Before Dishonor. Especially because I feel like if you're going to put it on a pay-per-view, you can go bigger. You can have it feel more intense, especially when the weekly show that it's on is a Ring of Honor episode and not a regular episode of, wrestling. The match itself was great. I thought both of them did a really good job. I was especially impressed by Layla Hirsch because this feels the most outside of her style. I liked that Diamante looked really good, dominating the early part of the match, and how Layla Hirsch kind of fought back out of it. I love the point when the tax came in. And Layla Hirsch, she hit Diamante with a move and covered her, and then Diamante kicked out, and the way she kicked out, Layla Hirsch kind of landed in the thumbtacks and instantly reacted because it was like she then got popped off of her opponent into them. It was like such a real reaction. It was awesome. That moonsault that she hit, that she almost missed the table, and then that is where as the disembodied voice confirmed, I had seen on social media that Diamante needed to get 2 stitches inside of her ear. That's where that actually happened, was when Layla Hirsch hit the moonsault off the top rope to the table outside. And then Diamante getting to put Hirsch through the table was awesome too. Like they went for all the spots. They did it. It looked great. It was super entertaining. This could have been my match of the night on a good night of Ring of Honor. The biggest bummer is the fact that this match was really fun and really entertaining, but even this match couldn't save this episode.
Jesse, how do we feel
This
about
was
our
my
girls?
match of the night. I just wish I didn't have to slog through everything else to get here. I can't, I agree with pretty much everything that Andrew said. I don't have anything to kind of add to that. It's just I wish we didn't have to go through everything else we went before to get to this match. Now, I also do agree that this should have been on Death Before Dishonor, and part of me wants to say, hey, run it back and do it again and give them more time. Let's just do it next week at Death Before Dishonor. Why not? They don't have anything else lined up. But Tony will steal them for something on AEW so somebody else can win and they can lose.
This is very unfortunate. Well, I mean, Jesse, you mentioned Tony's name, so I want to pose this question before we get into our final ratings. Do we think, and this is just kind of me thinking about it, do you think that because ROH is, we know that ROH is the umbrella, underneath the umbrella of AEW, so Tony Khan is in charge of it, I guess, if you want to put in charge as much as he can be. What do you think is causing ROH to be thrown away to the wayside? Like, we know AEW is like running on 100 for all the things with the TV shows and the pay-per-views. They're just doing way too much, in my opinion. So why do you think ROH is kind of getting the back burner treatment? I know this is a very vague question, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts, and then I'll give mine to close it out. But Andrew, I'm going to come to you first. What in the world is going on with ROH? Why is Tony Khan and AEW having a really hard time getting people to care about this?
So I think ROH is the worst symptoms of the bigger problem. And the way I look at it is there was a movie that used this theme, and there was a cooking show that used this theme, where you have different layers of people, and there's a platform that comes down, and there's ingredients or food on these layers as they go down. So the first layer gets all the really good stuff, everything that they could want. They get all of that, get it in abundance, as much as they can have. Each layer gets less and less to work with, lower quality. The whatever they're getting, the ingredients that they're getting are trashed. All this stuff is happening. I think what we're seeing is you've got different layers, and Ring of Honor is that bottom floor that's getting everything that's left over after everybody else has gotten to do what they want to do. And that's why you're seeing some phenomenal things happening at the top of AEW. And you're seeing some incredible, groundbreaking things, historical things that people will be talking about in decades about, you know, greatest matches ever, greatest wrestlers, all this kind of stuff going on. But surrounding that, you're also having things that are not making any sense, storylines that are being cut short, things that are being rushed. And Ring of Honor is just the worst case scenario of that, because they're getting, you know, stripped apart to play into these other desires of these other stories or whatever they want to do with them at the top level. And they're in the investment in what's happening there is just non-existent. So I think Ring of Honor is just, it's the smallest child that gets whatever's left over in Ring of Honor or in AEW, and AEW is just not planning well. They're seeking that instant gratification. What can we do now? How can we be hot? What's big? What can we do, instead of actually looking for longevity in the things that they do.
Jesse, same question to you. What is happening with ROH? Like, what is going on?
What was the question? I wasn't paying attention. No, I'm kidding. Andrew, I agree with you on all of your points. I think there are a multitude of symptoms that are going on with this. I've got two that I've thought about. I'll talk about the lesser one first. The lesser one is, I don't think they have anybody who's consistently driving ROH, who's got the direction for not only creativity and storyline, but where they want the business to go. Tony owns it in name, but I don't think he's ever put anyone, implemented them to be the driving force behind it, like the CEO of this particular brand. And I think that's really hurting them, because there's too many people, because I think there's at least three, because you got Maria, you've got, I can't even think of the other two names right now. Help me out, gentlemen.
When when this rebrand began, we were told that Jerry Lynn, Stokely Hathaway, and Maria Kanellis were in charge of the different aspects.
I haven't seen any of them.
Yeah, well, Maria is kind of dealing with a lot right now. So
and she's got a lot going on, and let's hope her a quick recovery.
Stokely got snatched up because now he's paired with Chris in AEW, which, you know, even though we're talking about ROH, I love me some Chris Statlander and Stokely. I think they're funny as hell. I just wish those two were on ROH, because I feel like they're being wasted in AEW right now. But that's besides the point. And who knows where Jerry Lynn went and what's happening with him, because I have yet to hear anything about him backstage. So it is, I don't know, Jesse, this is getting wild.
I mean, they don't have anybody to give them direction. Like, hey, call any one of us. We will happily do it. I'll do it without pay. I'll do it just so I can meet some of the talent, and we'll call it good. Like, I don't just have somebody in there who cares about it and who wants to help right the ship. Secondly, and the big one for me, it's money. ROH is not big on ROI on the balance sheets for the cons. ROH doesn't have the toy deal with Jazzwares like AEW has. They've got some coming from the vault, but it's very minimal. ROH doesn't have the TV deals like AEW has, and that AEW is still in renegotiation for the network deals. ROH doesn't have the buy-in because they don't have as many pay-per-views. ROH doesn't have a video game. ROH doesn't have as big of a merch stop. So they're not making as much money. So the cons don't really care if it's doing well or not. And that's another reason why I think it may not be here in the next few months.
I think we'll be lucky if we can even finish out 2024 and get to... I don't even know if there's going to be a final battle 2024. And that's
it may be
part.
The final battle.
I think that's there could be a likelihood that is literally what we get.
Mikey, what do you think is the problem?
Well, I mean, both of you have kind of touched upon a lot of things in terms of, you know, it's not a priority for the umbrella company. You know, the lack of, you know, established talent or a consistent roster, I think, is another one. You know, it's getting thrown to the wayside. Nobody being there to help ROH is you know, not also helping. But I think for me, my biggest issue with ROH, outside of all that and the inconsistency, is the lack of creative. This is a wrestling promotion. You have characters like Dalton Castle, you know, Layla Hirsch, the Outrunners, Queen Aminata, Athena, Billy Starks. Like, these are wrestling characters, and some of them are involved in storylines that are getting repetitive because you're not adding any dimension to them. And then some of the characters that should be in storylines are getting booked to lose to high heaven. Like, there is no creative push behind anything. I have gone to high school gymnasiums for independent shows that have more character than ROH does half the time. And that's really disappointing for me to see, because there is so much talent in ROH. And because of the fact that of the 6-7 titles that ROH has, the 2 that are consistently on ROH right now, literally carrying this company, not even carrying, they are army crawling this thing to try to get to the finish line, and they're struggling, is Athena and Billy. But now you have pigeonholed this and are stretching out a storyline that has not been given any dimension since Supercard of Honor. Like, literally, it was cool, but then, like, it's gone stale. It's gone no direction. I don't claim to be the best when it comes to this. I'm just some dude who has a podcast and is giving and mouthing off his opinion. But you have people who do this for a living, and you mean to tell me that we can't get anything for these folks? We can't push. Literally, if this is not going to be your priority, find somebody who cares. Like, the Wrestling News reported is like, people are like, hey, when Bryan Danielson retires, he should be put in charge of ROH. Yes, perfect, because he is an ROH person. He is probably synonymous with ROH. And as we all come to know, Danielson loves wrestling and will do right by folks. Like, that is what he wants to do with the rest of his life. Look, I will send this to Tony Khan. I think he probably will never see this because, you know, it's just us. But Tony, I am dead ass serious, and I'm using my one curse word for this episode. Literally, we are willing to have a conversation with you. We're not telling you how to run the thing. We care about this. I wouldn't be yelling and screaming at the internet about some wrestling promotion if I did not care about all the people involved. And this is a passion of mine. Please do right by this brand. Do right by the talent, and do right by the people who watch this and review this, because we love Ring of Honor. And I know we talked a lot of smack this whole entire episode about this, but if we didn't care, we wouldn't be here. That's the reason why. We care. I'm done. That is my soapbox for the evening. But gentlemen, let's
Mikey,
yeah.
I got it for you.
What's
we
up?
swear because we care.
Yes, we swear because we care. I'm putting that on a t-shirt. All right, let's get through these ratings before I get extra spicy, which is not good for anybody. But I can't give this higher than a 4. I really can't. And again, it's not because the in-ring work was bad. It's not because the talent is super sloppy with the maneuver. It's just that you continue to show me you do not care about any of the aspects of ROH, and it's starting to show. And what really brought it down for me was the fact that I visibly saw Brian Cage's like light in his eyes disappear during his entrance, which is the saddest thing I have ever seen in my entire life watching ROH. And that bummed the hell out of me for sure. I can't give this a higher than a 4. And again, it's not because of the matches. It's not because of the talent. It's the behind the scenes shenanigans and lack of direction that most of these folks have. That's really irritating me. Andrew, I'm gonna come to you. How many empanadas do you give this episode of ROH?
I give it a 4.5. Once again, at least 50% of the matches were squatches. It did almost nothing for me or the build to Death Before Dishonor. There was nearly nothing I was invested or interested in this entire night. I was looking forward to Dalton Castle and the Outrunners. And it was an entertaining match, but then it just kind of brought me down with the realization of how they were handling all of that. The main event was great, but even then mishandled where it was, and it wasn't enough to save the rest of the episode. I hate saying this, but I have almost zero enthusiasm for Death Before Dishonor, because we've got 4 matches now. I think we've got both world title matches. We've got the television title match. We've got the pure title match, and we can assume, I guess, the 5th one is going to be Kyle Fletcher versus Atlantis Jr., maybe. But none of those have any interest for me because you've done nothing to give me an interest, and any interest I did have, you've stripped it away from me. So I'm not looking forward to next week's big show, which is a shame.
I agree with you, and the fact that we only have officially, because I don't officially confirm matches until I see those placards, and the fact that we only have 3 placards with your show literally being next week is mind-boggling. There is a way. Oh, look at that! Oh, snap! What happened? Oh no! The internet decided. Yeah. Okay. Cool. ROH heard us talking crap and they tried to destroy us, but you will never take me alive. But there is a way to withhold matches and then announce them like literally days before, but for them to make sense. Tune in for the TNA review to show how that turned out. Anyways, Jesse, final ratings. What did you grade this week's Ring of Honor on the Empanada scale?
I hate to do this, but this was a 2. I don't think I've ever rated one that low. If it weren't for the fact that our big pay-per-view, which we don't get many on this promotion, is next week, it probably would have been higher, but they needed to do so much more to give me any kind of story build, and they failed to do so.
Yeah, it's frustrating because I love this little brand. I love the people and the talent involved with it, but me caring and wanting this to turn out great is no longer enough. ROH, you need to step it up, because otherwise we're going to have some problems and we may need to reevaluate some things here at BC WrestlePod, and that makes me feel very sad to say. So that is going to be it for this episode. A little bit of housekeeping before we sign off for the evening. We will not be here for a regular ROH review next Friday, as we will be watching Death Before Dishonor. So that's, I'm sad to say, because I was just like, I am not enthused about next week, but we're going to watch it because it is our sworn duty to watch ROH and hope for the best. But you got to give me something, ROH. So there will not be a regular review next Friday. Instead, we will be watching Death Before Dishonor. The ROH boys and whoever else from BC WrestlePod wants to watch can join us next week. But I think the matches themselves, I still think the women's matches are going to be really fire. It's just that the story building has made me not care about it and is disappointing. But that is going to be it for us here at the Bro. I'm going to be a total heel. This episode does not deserve the outro handshake because it insulted my intelligence and it made me feel sad. So it does not get it from me. I'm being a heel now. Honestly, you know what? I'm going to be with Jesse. We're going to get the Tetsuya Naito eye now.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I was just being weird.
You're channeling your inner
if I can make a quick sound clip for this, or a YouTube clip, like short, whatever it is, to me, this is how far Ring of Honor has fallen. I don't even take notes anymore.
Yeah, that's very depressing too. Like, I have bare bones notes, and as I look back in my notebook, I was just like, it's just gotten progressively worse of how much I've actually written, and it's depressing. But that is going to be it for us. So no ROH review next week. We will be watching Death Before Dishonor next Friday, and then tune in for the review the following Monday as we talk about how well or how little we were enthused by the end of the show. But from all of us here at the Bro and the BC WrestlePod multiverse of madness, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay biconic, but more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll catch you for the next episode. But until then, sayonara, adios, and Billy Stark's outro.